Now, the Department of Corrections on the hot seat yesterday during a city council hearing over how the Department of Corrections handled the COVID response.
I want to ensure that we are doing all we can to protect those incarcerated, as well as those who work within these facilities.
The department took critical steps to contain the spread of the virus. We leveraged and expanded our existing robust sanitation practices, activated protocols to provide personal protective equipment to both staff and individuals in custody, and established a tier housing structure that separates individuals who are symptomatic, positive, or exposed to COVID-19 from the general population.
All right, that was the commissioner there of the Department of Corrections. During the hearing, the DOC patted itself on the back for its response, but the head of the Correction Officers Union accuses the DOC of doing too little too late. And COBA Union President Boscio Jr. joins us this morning to discuss that hearing and what he really hopes comes out of it moving forward for a potential second wave. Benny, good morning to you.
Good morning, Dan. How are you?
Doing well, sir. Thank you for joining us this morning. So let's get to it, because at the height of the pandemic, there were 576 inmates who tested positive for COVID, 1,400 correction officers who tested positive. That is nearly, for those doing the math, 3 times the number of COs than inmates. I want to get to deaths, though. How many officers died of coronavirus?
8 of my officers passed away, unfortunately.
And do you know how many inmates?
I do not.
So Commissioner Brand, from the Department of Corrections that you just heard from, she testified yesterday that the department acted quickly to sanitize jails and provide PPE. But you tell a different story. The numbers might tell a different story as well. Your thoughts?
Well, that was not the case. I mean, look, we had to sue the department to get PPEs to stop them from making officers work triple tours. They actually didn't come out right away. They dropped the ball. 1,400 of my members got sick, and like I said, 8 members died. And they can prepare now for this second wave that everybody's talking about that's going to come. We have a low inmate population right now, about 4,200 or so, and we have enough staff to spread out the inmates to allow for social distancing properly. They can break up these houses, put less inmates in each housing to allow that to happen. And I think that last time they were very reactive instead of proactive. It took us a long time to get masks. They knew that this was coming.
And during the first few weeks of the pandemic, 3,000 correction officers were actually calling out sick. So you accused the department of forcing officers back to work early to deal with staffing shortages. Just curious of the proof you have that that was actually happening. Is there a paper trail? Were officers getting reprimanded if they didn't come back?
Yes, the health management division, where it is where we call out sick and deal with the doctors, the city doctors, they were forcing my members back to work without clearing negative testing. So we would like that to happen. If God forbid our officers get sick again, we want them to have a negative finding, be able to test negative before they're forced to come back. But was it after a
14-day window that they were told to come back?
Yes, there was various teletypes that at first they were saying, you got to quarantine for a certain amount of time, and then they said things were changing with the CDC, and then they end up forcing people back to work sooner.
Understood. So how long did it take for the Department of Correction to actually provide, because you bring up a lot of this PPE in your hearing yesterday, saying that they didn't receive the masks that they needed, you had to sue the department. How long did it take for that equipment and safety equipment to arrive for both COs and inmates?
It was about 6 to 8 weeks afterwards. We were struggling to get PPEs. Not all the facilities had them. They had to send an officer to a location, and then it was like they made it so difficult for us to get masks. And then when officers brought their own masks, they were told they couldn't wear them.
So now that the colder weather is here, really, we're in fall, right? And the winter is just around the corner. There are concerns, and you mentioned it, of a possible second outbreak. We talk about this almost every single day. Are there protocols in place? Did the Department of Corrections learn anything from round 1 and bring those lessons to you of preventative measures that they're now taking for a possible second wave?
I have not yet seen a written plan. I would hope that, we don't repeat the mistakes of the past, right? I mean, they valuable lessons had to be learned here. 8 of my members died. That's unacceptable. The sanitization of the jails has to be ramped up. We could actually social distance right now. The jails are unsafe. They're housing by gang affiliation. It's 50-1. They could actually put 15 inmates in each housing area and to allow the social distancing to be done properly.
We have seen in other agencies, like, for example, the Department of Education, we're spending a lot of time focused on schools, and the unions are at the table and in the room with the commissioners, with the mayor, having these conversations about what they want to see happen for their own members. Are you in these meetings and these conversations with Commissioner Brand, Mayor de Blasio, et cetera?
I have not been in any meetings involving this potential second wave as of yet. They got me in punitive segregation meetings that they want to end that, and that'll be a tragedy as well with all the violence that's up in the jails right now.
I know violence is actually a conversation you and I will have on a later date. We are out of time this morning, but it's something we should be addressing, and we'll have you back to talk about it. Thank you for joining us this morning. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate you having me on.
Of course, and we did reach out, by the way, just for everybody at home, to the Department of Corrections for a comment on yesterday's hearing and on Benny Boscio's testimony before the City Council. We have not heard back, but when we do, we'll post it to our website.